Perhaps he is best known as the member of the legendary Muddy Waters Band, but he has achieved so much more than that. He's an acclaimed performer, writer, producer, journalist, blues ambassador, mentor, teacher. Welcome to the Rock and Blues Review, Bob Margolin.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
For me, this is a little bit daunting. Not because of you. You and I have talked a couple times in the green room at the Canal Bank Shuffle, and you're certainly friendly and accommodating and helpful. But I look at your history and I don't know where to start. Are there anything that really stands out for you among all those accolades?
Well, getting into Muddy Waters Band in August 1973 uh, was a crossroads moment because before that I had been in local bands in Massachusetts, uh, some blues bands playing with some very good people here and there. But I loved Muddy and his music, and suddenly got an opportunity to join his band. I instantly knew that it would be a crossroads moment, really crucial for what happens to the rest of my life, depending on how good I could do with it. And that's exactly the way it turned out. But it was such a big opportunity and change of life that it was obvious, and it did turn out to be that way. I did try to make the best of it, and then take what I learned from Muddy, both to help him on the bandstand for the 7 years that I was in his band, and then to use it for my own career after I was in his band in 1980, to just be able to carry on what he called old school Chicago blues.
Yeah, and I think that's where some of the teaching comes in. Uh, do you feel that you have a responsibility to keep that alive? There's some custodial duties there.
Mm. Gee, I thought it was keeping me alive. But I do want to pass it on as much as possible. Uh, I do that with music and the people that I play with on the bandstand, to be able to have that old style of Chicago blues that I did learn from Muddy. It's nice to have it there and bring it to whatever music that I make. But it was also the biggest musical thrill, just being, uh, just playing his blues with him. So I do have opportunities to pass it on to other players. There's a foundation that was started by the manager of Muddy's piano player at the time, uh, Pinetop Perkins, who was born in 1913. And towards the very end of his life, his manager was able to set up workshops in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and Pinetop went to the first one in 2010, and it's really grown since then. Pinetop passed before the next year's workshop. He was only 97.
Yeah,
Too too late for him to die young,
yeah,
but it was just that's been a wonderful experience, and it's become a real family of people that love the music and love working together. And kids want to play it with people their own age, and discover their own music, and work on it together. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
yeah. And I was fortunate because in 2010 I saw you with the Muddy Waters band at the Niagara Falls Blues Fest, and at that time there was still Matt Murphy, Willie Big Eye Smith, Pinetop was there, and Hubert Sumlin was there, and we lost three of them the next year. So I feel fortunate to have seen that.
It was at that Niagara Falls Blues Festival in 2010, which was put on by our friend from Niagara Falls, Toby Rotella, who passed just a few years ago. But I'd known him since the days in Muddy's band. But I was, well, we had quite an all-star Chicago blues band with those people you mentioned being from a generation before the one I was in. And I was very concerned with kind of road managing it, being up in the logistics of everything and trying to make everything happen at just the right time. And when it was near time for everybody to actually take the bandstand, I opened the door of the dressing room trailer, which was right behind the stage, and then saw Matt Murphy and Pinetop and Hubert all sitting there at a little table in a RV, whoa, this is Chicago blues history and important people right in front of me live. Now let's get on the bandstand and I can get to play with them. Really wonderful experience for me being around those people.
Yeah, and it was great for us too because it was a good show. I mean, like you said, Pine Top 96 or 7 at the time, but he still was playing, and so was everybody else. It was a good, great show, and I was lucky again to see you later. I think 2017 with the Nighthawks. But you played with them many, many years before that too.
I had met them right around the time of the mid 70s when I was getting into Muddy's band. They were the same setup, guitar, bass, drums, and harp as the band I was in right before I joined Muddy's band. And they became good friends. And when I was off from Muddy, I would take the opportunity to do gigs with them. And so we were good friends since that time. Uh, doing let's see, I'm not, there might have been two of them in the late teens this year, but 2017 might have been 2018. We did play at the Niagara Falls Festival, and we had Luther Guitar Jr. Johnson with us too, that had been in Muddy's band, and at that point he'd been one of the only survivors of it, along with me and Jerry Portnoy. Jerry Portnoy was in that too, I believe. Did you see him on the shows you were talking about?
Yeah, I did. Yep, the three of
Yeah.
you were there. Yep.
I remember we went up there, and I really wanted to hear Luther again. He'd been really strong the last time we had played, and just as he was about to shut his out to start his uh, part of the set, they stopped the show. They said there is a big electrical storm 5 minutes from here. It's too dangerous. This is over. There I am standing there getting ready to watch, and I not only didn't get to play with him one more time, but never did again.
Yeah, yeah, that's unfortunate for sure. But yeah, like I was lucky enough to see you guys before that, and like I said, we had you at the Canal Bank Shuffle a few times, and we had the Nighthawks as well. But you amazed me because I think it was the first time we had you. You had played in Brantford, uh, and in the afternoon, and then you came out to the Shuffle that night. After you did your gig, you had Donnie Walsh come out with you, and then you came back on with Marlin and Arbuckle, and I think you went to one of the clubs after that. You know, remarkable. You're playing 4 or 5 sets per day. Is that something you like to do?
Well, I did at the time. I took it as an opportunity when it was possible, and it wasn't that hard physically. And good people taking care of me and the logistics of the situation, especially Gary Kendall from Toronto, who I also met. in the mid 70s in Muddy's band when we used to play at the Colonial Tavern on Yonge Street in Toronto.
Right.
And I met Gary. He was playing. He wasn't in Downchild yet, but Downchild was just getting going at that time too. They were wonderful Canadian musicians and a great scene and great audiences for playing blues. They know what the music is, and there's been so much good music there. And also, Southern Ontario is home to most of the guys in the band, and Levon Helm was very at home there too.
Right.
So just feeling their spirits around at that time, it was, meant a lot to go out to Brantford and other places they used to play.
Yeah, you're right in his stomping grounds. Um, and of course, we have to mention, I mentioned earlier some of the stuff you've been involved with. I mean, The Last Waltz is right up there among the great shows of all time, and you were a big part of that. Uh, how do you wrap your head around it while you're doing it?
There was another situation that was so the word they use for it now in pop culture is epic.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was obvious that that's what it was when I saw what people were there, and I remember thinking to myself exactly, this is just like walking around inside a Rolling Stone magazine, rock stars everywhere. And it was interesting being there with two older musicians, which was Pinetop and Muddy Waters, 1913 and 1915, and they didn't know who the rock stars of the day were. I did because I read Rolling Stone magazine or something, but they didn't. But all these people were around them, coming up to them and being nice to them, and they had no idea that they might be talking to somebody that was world famous or something. One time, as we were getting to the last waltz before the concert, one of the first people we saw was Joni Mitchell, who came over and thanked Muddy for his music. He had no idea who she was, but I can testify the words that came into mind is she's impossibly beautiful just standing right in front of me. Aside from the fact that her music is complex and creative and amazing, but aside from that, that was enough to stun me and apparently Muddy too, because he hit on her and and she backed out of that. It's like she almost disappeared in a twinkle or something. Uh, and was sitting around in the big green room, and I was on a couch next to Pine Top, and he turned to me and said, "Somebody told me one of the Beatles is here." And he didn't realize, but Ringo was sitting on the other side
Hmm.
of him, and heard that he wasn't recognized. I think he enjoyed that.
Yeah, you don't seem like you miss much. You're very thoughtful and you remember all these things. You must have a pretty good memory because you were, like I said, you seem to be observing and remembering everything that's going on around you, which must be tough.
Well, I really do enjoy remembering things in such detail. As you could see, I remember the exact words that went through my mind when uh, things like that happen. The opportunity of joining Muddy's band, which put me on a world stage instead of a regional one. Uh, I remember saying to myself as I was going home that night, and that if I don't do this, I'm putting a lid on playing blues music for the rest of my life. If I don't take this great opportunity here. Now, I also can go, what if that opportunity didn't happen, or if it didn't work out? Maybe something besides that maybe I would have gotten into other kinds of music. Maybe not. I was already pretty deep in blues. I might have done better to become a band leader or a solo artist and make my own music a lot earlier than I did because I really didn't start writing songs and recording till 1988, which was like 15 years later. I also, in about 1984, I was reading a magazine interview with Billy Joel, and they mentioned his birth date. And it was the same as mine. And I couldn't, I said, well, gee, I don't know anything about him or his music, but I know he's very successful. And, I wonder, it's just interesting, two musicians born on the same day.
Yeah,
And so it's been interesting for me to learn a lot more about him recently because he's got a big TV special out now, and he is very revealing of himself.
yeah. But you certainly had your moments. I mean, we just mentioned the last waltz, which was amazing, but you also played the Kennedy Center tribute to Muddy in '97. Those Kennedy Center tributes are always amazing.
Yeah, let's see how long that lasts.
Yeah, yeah, good point. I know, but to see those guys on stage, and I'm amazed. I hope they keep going, or at least resume some point.
Uh, yeah, the political things that are going on are it's heartbreaking, I think. It's my opinion anyway.
Yeah. Well, I notice some of your social media posts, and you're very classy, very tasteful. I like your approach, and it's clearly thoughtful. So good for you.
Thanks. I'm glad you see it that way. Naturally, some trolls and bots pop up, and
Yeah.
but before I see them, other people who follow the page jump on them, and then I just it's so easy to delete somebody. Wouldn't it be nice if you could make a couple of clicks and then never hear from or see the person again, and they can't see you either. What?
Yeah, yeah, good point. But no, I think you do a good job, and it's it's very tasteful. Now, aside from that, you've been on three Grammy-winning albums, I believe, but you don't have a Grammy. How does that work?
Um, I have respect for what a Grammy is in the real world, which is a marketing tool. Just like when you were introducing me today, that word muddy waters was going to be in the first sentence, if not the first word, because it's a very important connection. Uh, when people are marketing musicians now, either doing it themselves or other people, is going to be Grammy winning, Grammy, 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 and it's like a shortcut in people's mind when perhaps it was something that was decided with a lot of publicity and lobbying, and it's not that impressive to me. It's wonderful though when somebody gets rewarded with honor and recognition, especially the classical musicians that deserved it, and or the blues musicians that I know that really should be honored and respected. I never thought much about it. I never aimed for it. I had a album in 2016 that got pretty high up in the nomination process, but didn't get it. And what's the difference? I'm not trying to sell anything now.
Yeah,
And that's a lot of what it's about. Let's face it.
yeah. But I'm just curious as to how, I mean, because if rock bands win, the whole band gets them. It's not, they don't pick out one person. I was just curious how that worked.
I don't even. know or haven't thought about it very much. I think in 1995 there was a Muddy Waters tribute band album, which featured Muddy's basic band, which was all still around at that time, but then had wonderful musicians like Greg Allman and Levon Helm and Coco Taylor and Junior Wells. Whole Sonny Landreth played guitar on one song. There's there was a lot of excitement for that, and I got invited to go to the Grammys at that in 1995, and I just wasn't interested.
Hmm.
I wished everybody good luck with it, and it was nice to have been honored that way.
Yeah. No, like I said, I was just curious. It seems to be different for blues guys for some reason. Um, let's just say, I read Muddy's biography, and you certainly have a lot of mentions in there over the years. And one of the things I noticed was that you were in the studio one time working with Johnny Winter, and you were setting up guitars for Muddy and Jimmy Rogers. Uh, that technical proficiency too, for not everyone has that. Did you learn it young, and is that what helped you get into producing?
Um, no, the technical part of it just followed the music and performing. The most instructive thing about how to make things work technically is being in a band and running your own sound system, which I used to have to do a long time ago. And if something breaks, you have to unbreak it while you're playing, and you have to figure out, well, what's going to make this work? If all of a sudden the speaker stops working, the first thing to do is make sure the connections between the speaker and the cord and the amplifier didn't come loose, or something on the sound system console is not set right. You just have to make sure everything is in the right place, and then if it isn't broken, replace the part. But that keeps me know the thought process keeps me knowing how to make this happen. Then again, you could see I was helpless with our Zoom call for the first minute or so. You did not pop up where I expected you to, and I couldn't get mine to, but eventually I did. It's moving windows around on a screen.
Mm-hmm. But you figured it out and you know what you're doing. But that brings us to another point. With all the stuff you have done, the writing, producing, now you're a columnist too. Uh, do you do you enjoy all those things as much, or
Yeah, I'm enjoying them uh, more these days. Actually, I enjoy posting whatever I'm thinking about on Facebook, whether it's cute pet pictures uh, or about music, about things that are happening in the world right now, or historical things, or well, why not try and predict the future too?
yeah,
And enjoy doing all those writing on Facebook, where I write something and get almost an immediate reaction to it, has been big fun for me, and I'm spending more time doing it because I want to do it, not because I have to. Actually, I found that when I get lots of followers, a little money comes in, but it's not much more than go out and buy a pizza.
yeah, yeah. I know. Same with Spotify. We gotta fix that somehow. But I saw an interview with you and Art Capaldi in Blues Music Magazine, and you said something very interesting. You were talking about, jamming with guys, knowing the language of the blues. But then you said something that was interesting. You said it takes a little bit of ESP. Now that's something most guys skip over because to me that's fascinating because everyone says how do they do it, and everyone mentions the language, but that ESP thing that you mentioned, that's unique and that's different.
It involves being intimate with the music and the musicians, what they're likely to play if you're doing more than just recreating a part in a song, and if you're actually interacting, and that's a big deal with Chicago blues bands. Uh, it's really important to not only know what the whoever's leading the song, whether it's Muddy or somebody else in the band, is likely to play next, but at the same time, don't be ready to just reproduce that because they're already doing it. I've got to, in the moment, guess what they're going to do and come up with a part that works well with it and goes with it and enhances it and adds to it rather than taking away. It's a very important thing to do. And as I said, knowing the music, the musician, and on such an intimate level that your musical communication gets that good that ESP is a good term for it because you can't really know what they're going to do, and sometimes they surprise you by not doing it. But being ready and being adaptable is a lot of fun. Plenty of time. Say at the turnaround, which is a little part of a blues progression at the end of it, where it it ends and then goes back to the next verse. Uh, Sometimes you can do that by going up bum ba bum ba bum ba bum. But if you go bum ba bum ba bum ba bum at the same time, they kind of cross, and it's just a beautiful thing. So I would try to do that when Muddy was playing, and I had to guess which way he was going to go, and so I could go the other way. But sometimes it didn't exactly work out. So sometimes he went in a way that surprised me, and I had to jump in and find another way. But it's a little bit like two people who know each other real well starting to speak and say the same thing at exactly the same time.
Right.
Now, just those musical things are what makes it a real thrill, and the subtleties are what makes the classic music, say, for blues with, say, Jimmy Rogers, Muddy Waters, and Little Walter all together. Uh, Very, very special, more than just nice parts created and executed. It's alive and a real thrill to play that kind of music when it's done with people that can do it. I've done that with the much older musicians, but I've also done that with students that are under 10 years old at the Pontop Foundation workshops in Clarksdale.
Right. Actually, that was it brought me to my next point because when you're describing that crossover and reverse parts, it almost a metaphor for your career because you were so much younger than the rest of the band and all those guys you have mentioned. You're able to carry that on and add it to a new generation. And we talked earlier about you passing on some of that information, and I saw it firsthand too. The last time I think you came to the shuffle, you got up there with Tronzo Cannon, and that was a lot of fun. But then you got up there with a couple of real young kids, Hayden Fogel and Spencer McKenzie, and that is a tribute to your ability to play with so many styles and ages.
It's a thrill for me to do that. One of the things that sometimes happens in Clarksdale is you will have many, many generations all on stage at once. We have 94-year-old Bob Stroger comes in and is kind of our bass bass player teacher, but his presence there, a blues man that was actually around and playing in the 1950s, is an amazing opportunity for everybody to hang out with him, hear his music, play along with him, and get to know him. But then on the other hand, on the other side, at some of the jams, there'll be some kids that are as young as 8 years old and 10 and then lots of teenagers and plenty of young adults, and then a few that aren't. And all the instructors are there too. So we have some very mm, diverse. That diversity is a bad word in America now. It shouldn't be.
Hmm.
But that seeing that happen as applied to old school blues music, that's to me, that's keeping the blues alive, which everybody seems to be in favor of that. Whatever they say about it or think about it
Yeah.
probably means something different to every person.
Yeah, and you've seen it firsthand, and from my perspective, it's more of a position of, organizing and promoting shows, and it was always a bit frustrating for me when people didn't understand that the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin and ZZ Top, these bands are all based in the blues, and you don't seem to worry about it, and I think that's the better attitude.
Yeah, the very simple, just looking past everything. The prize is to make the best music that I can make in whatever situation I'm in. And things like that Canal Bank Shuffle really presented an opportunity for that. What am I going to say? No, take me back to my hotel room so I can doom scroll on my phone.
Yeah. No,
Nah.
there was a few of you who really enjoyed. JP Soares was like that too, boy. We couldn't get him off the stage. He was going from one venue to the other and loving it. But that's great. Great for us. Great for you guys. Now, of all those guys and all those people, I mean, we scratched the surface here. The people you played with and worked with. Is there someone you would like to try or haven't had the opportunity to play with or work with?
No, a lot of the ones that I did get to play with or be around are either gone or not playing anymore. So I'm just oriented more towards the music and playing it as well as possible, whether it's with somebody that's extremely famous and gives name recognition, or um, whether it's a young kid that has some fire and feeling for this music. As it's really nice to see that there's a lot of young women that really are picking up and jumping into them, and uh, I get to see and meet them at those on Top Foundation workshops too. That's most of how I've met a lot of friends and watch them build a career.
Yeah. And you've certainly been a big part of that. And, like I mentioned, mentor, teacher. Uh, so we're almost out of time here. So I want to thank you again for doing this. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you again in the very near future.
I hope so. Thank you for thinking of me and making this easy. And I really have to thank Canada and Southern Ontario, and in particular for the good times I've had there, and for being the spiritual home to the four members of the actual home to four members of the band. And Levon was very comfortable up there too. The amazing musicians and the audiences are wonderful up there, and I love everybody, and I miss them right now.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.